Morning! See the groundhog?
Yeah?
Think it'll be an early spring.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
I don't know what you mean.
Don't mess with me, pork chop.
We weren't expecting this. They told us it wasn't going to happen, but lo and behold, the Custodians have come out with an update to the open beta. What does this mean? Well, basically, they have released, and it is now live, a new version of the 3.3 Libra open beta. If you opt into the open beta on Steam, you can go out and play the newer version right now, today. They have been overwhelmed by all the feedback they got from us, from the community, and kind of as a thank you, but also to make sure we can get even more testing in before the actual 3.3 release, which is yet to come. They have released an updated version of this beta. They are mainly looking for opinions on the changes to balance done by the Unity and Influence reworks. That is why they've released this beta basically. But what are the changes? What is going on? Let's dive into the changelog and find out what is going to be changing in the beta. First off, we have two feature changes. That is, Unity ambitions and campaigns will now function like toggled edicts and last until cancelled rather than cost something upfront. Planetary Ascension now also reduces the effect of Empire Sprawl from that planet as well. So with just these two changes, there is quite a bit to unpack. The first one seems quite simple on the surface, and this is something people were talking about that they thought was a little broken. Well, I've noticed in the beta, because I have had a look, it seems like they have implemented the upkeep for Unity ambitions, but they've also kept an associated cost. That means at the moment, if you want to toggle a Unity ambition on, you have to pay an upfront cost of Unity and then a monthly upkeep. But if you want to turn it off as well, it also costs Unity to turn it off. So you could be left in a situation if you accidentally overspend, where if you've turned on too many ambitions and you don't have enough Unity left to turn any of them off, you could have a negative balance per month and be stuck like that forever until you can build more Unity. I do think this could be a minor bug. This implementation is not what they've mentioned in the changelog, because they do say here that they are going to have it function like a toggled edict with upkeep instead of costs, but it does seem to have both. But we'll just have to see how that shakes out in the end. I'm very pleased they've fixed it, though if they could fix it all the way, that would be even better. And then on top of all of that, the upkeep cost for these ambitions seems to be bugged, and it actually seems to be free, even though the tooltip indicates it will cost you something in Unity every month. The other part of this cookie is Planetary Ascensions reducing the effect of Empire Sprawl from that planet. Now, I've gone and tested this. This is not just the Empire Sprawl you get from the planet, which is a base of 10. This is also the Empire Sprawl from all of the pops on that planet as well. How much Empire Sprawl is reduced? Well, for every tier of Planetary Ascension, you get a minus 5% to Empire Sprawl on that planet. So if you can get a planet upgraded all the way to tier 10, that is a 50% reduction to Empire Sprawl. For a very large planet, let's say we have an Ecumenopolis with 100 pops on it, that's 110 Empire Sprawl reduced down to 55, so a 5% change to your tech costs or a 10% change to your research if they keep the numbers the same. And that begs the question, are they keeping the numbers the same? Well, let's roll on into balance and find out. They have increased the administrative capacity of your empires. It's no longer called that. Basically, Empire Sprawl now has no effects except for edict costs when it is under 100 rather than under 50. This means you should never start the game with any modifiers from your Empire Sprawl. And on the note of Empire Sprawl, they've also changed the name of it to Empire Size rather than Empire Sprawl. Just a little thing, it might confuse you if you're looking for the right words and it's all changed a bit. Personally, I think they've gone the wrong way with this. I think that Empire Size should have an effect from 0, so you should be getting modifiers straight out of the gate. But that's just my personal preference. I have made a video on that and talked about that extensively already, so I'm not going to go deeply into it. Next up, Machine Intelligence no longer has increased size penalties. Instead, they've replaced it with minus 15% size from your pops, but a plus 50% from colonies. At the moment, colonies provide much less sprawl than pops. Simply having about 10 pops provides the same as a single colony, so pops are the majority problem with Empire size. This does mean, however, that machine intelligence are slightly more on par, and if anything, this is a bit of a buff because most of your sprawl is going to end up coming from your pops as the game goes on. So yeah, this is kind of a bonus to machines. I'm glad they've gone in the right direction here, although I think they do still need to remove the bonus that Hivemind are getting. That minus 25% to your Empire size penalty is very crazy. Megastructures no longer have Unity upkeep. They've increased the Unity output of biotrophies from 1 to 3. I think that's a reasonable change. You need to be able to produce more Unity now, but it doesn't sound like they've increased the Unity from simulation sites, so that's interesting. Reduce the cost of higher tier edicts and campaigns. This is a big one actually. So they've rebalanced the cost of edicts and campaigns. The base cost now is 10 and 30 rather than the higher costs we've had before. This means things like capacity subsidies are probably doable in the early game if you can get it right. And if you're enjoying this video, please update that like button. There has been a lot of complaining about how leaders cost Unity, and the way the Unity cost kind of becomes pretty irrelevant after the early game. But that shouldn't be the case anymore. Now leaders have a base cost of 100 Unity and will cost an additional 50 Unity for every leader owned. This value starts increasing once you have more than 6 leaders. So your first leader at the start of the game should cost only 100 Unity, and then as you go further than that, your next leader after that should cost 150 because you should then already have 6 leaders after you buy your first one. This means as the game goes on, your leaders are going to be more expensive because you're going to need more of them as your empire grows in size, and it also means that small empires will have reduced costs because they won't need as many leaders, for instance, to govern sectors. They have changed citizen service back. It now provides Unity just like it used to, and now the new buff that citizen service got, that +2 to starting level for your admirals and generals, that's now gone to Distinguished Admiralty. So Distinguished Admiralty has become a very, very aggressive and powerful military civic. However, just a note on the citizen service, I have gone in and tested it out. It doesn't seem to be working in the tests that I've done. It doesn't seem to have added the Unity production, so there is a slight bug there at the moment. Also, if you don't own a copy of Stellaris, or you'd like to buy some of the DLC, there is currently a sale on. It is the Lunar Sale. It's on until the 2nd of February 2022. The base game is 75% off, and I think most of the DLC are half price. If you'd like to pick any of those up, and you'd also like to support this channel and support charity, there is a link to Humble Bundle down in the description of this video, because Montu Plays is a Humble Bundle affiliate, so if you follow that link and buy anything from the Humble store, a portion of that will go towards supporting this channel as well as supporting charity. Zombies, which you can get from the special civic we got for Megacorp, are now less likely to seek jobs that produce resources. This is quite useful because they have a debuff for any actual resource production. That means they're more likely to jump into clerk jobs, which is exactly what we want. Servile pops also should no longer retain the trait if they become zombies. Spiritualists are no longer allowed to take Byzantine bureaucracy, basically because they don't have bureaucrats, which makes sense. And trade value is now going to be affected by the AI difficulty bonus, meaning that non-Hivemind AI empires will now be more competitive on higher difficulty settings compared to Hivemind AI empires. This is a slight boost for the non-Hiveminds, though I think maybe the point here is that Hiveminds are actually just more competitive at the moment, specifically bio-Hiveminds that get that crazy reduction to Empire Sprawl, as well as insane pop growth. There have been further changes to the AI. The AI can now create more specialized planets by switching the place of buildings on 2 different planets with each other, just like was mentioned in the previous dev diary. The AI is now much more likely to pick cheaper research options when all else is equal. It will now favor the trade policy which generates consumer goods over the default wealth creation policy, because that is generally a better policy now that they have debuffed the regular Unity policy. They fixed a bug where the AI would sometimes try to replace one lost science ship with an excessively high number of them, and they fixed an issue where the repeatable techs were getting an extra chance to be researched if they were rare techs. They fixed several issues where the AI would get stuck and not build any modules and upgrade star bases when there were open module slots. They've improved construction ship behavior. Construction ships will now prioritize tasks that are close to them and avoid going to another system that already has a construction ship in it. And they've then heavily increased priority of building star bases in systems with planets. Finally, the AI has a willingness to take a lot of planets with very low habitability, and they've reduced that, which is somewhat good, but I think actually it's not that good. You should possibly take planets with low habitability. It's not that big a deal. It's better to have them than not. However, I think if the AI takes them, then they'll never terraform planets, and they want the AI to terraform some of their worlds, because overall that can be better if you do a mixture of colonizing some low habitability worlds, whereas saving some of the others to be terraformed. But overall, most of these changes we have already heard about, and they are in the majority for the better. There have also been a few UI changes too. They have added a text box for the cost in Edict UI, and they've rearranged neighboring elements to align better. They've added a column for upkeep entry as well as sort button in the leader recruitment UI. They've hidden Empire Sprawl impact from the top of the Edicts UI and put in the Edict Fund in its place to keep neat alignment, and they've improved the legibility of approximate job output indicators on districts and buildings, and made those on buildings also show country modifiers. They've indeed optimized elements for leader upkeep and age to fit the localization better and avoid any UI overlaps. This is good if you're playing Stellaris in another language. And technologies which let you clear blockers now give you a tooltip which says how many of those blockers are on all of your colonies. That's pretty awesome, actually. It can be super annoying and frustrating when you have the choice of 2 or 3 different blockers, as you then have to kind of close the technology window, go to your planets, count up which of the blockers appear the most, which are the most problematic, and then pick those technologies to research. This way, you can do it all from the text screen. That is a very, very nice quality of life improvement. And finally, there have been an entire host of bug fixes. They fixed the bio trophy costing Unity to resettle issue. They fixed the issue where ascension tiers on planets are set to 0 whenever a planet changes hands. They have fixed a whole bunch of them. Now, I'm not going to read all of them, so if you are very curious if they fixed a bug you know about, go and check out the dev diary. The link is down in the description.
But wait! There's more!
This new version of the beta is going to be available until at least February the 3rd. At the time of recording, that is only a few days away. That's actually Thursday. And this time, it probably won't be updated. And they really mean it, okay? Once again, they're looking for directed, constructive feedback on the Influence Unity rework as it stands in 3.3 without mods. There is a thread. If you want the link to that, that is also in the description. But basically, go and enjoy the beta. Let them know what you think. If you don't enjoy it, let them know that as well. You know, fair enough. But do try to stay constructive with your feedback, folks. You know, the Custodians team are really, really listening to the players and the community at the moment. So we really should try to engage with them in an open, honest, but also constructive way. You know, there's no need for basically any nastiness is what I'm trying to say. If you don't like it, that is fine. You should tell them. But yeah, just let's all try to be civilized.
So uncivilized.